Hello, patrons. I am in the art studio today working on my giant Mount Rainier piece, and I thought I'd just work on it and share with you some of my process as I do. There's lots of little interesting things I do with my process that you might find interesting. So I'm just basically going to draw and chat as though you were sitting next to me. So just a heads up that this is not going to be a polished, edited video. This is going to be very lowbrow, and we're just going to chat. So right now, I'm working on clay board. I painted it with, all this blue is gouache, and I apply it with a sponge to get this nice texture. You can see a little bit here, there's some nice variation. It gives sort of an atmosphere, a nice loose base to create off of that gives a really nice mid-tone, and I feel like there's a lot of personality that's in the color for me to work off of versus like a flat color. I really don't like just one flat color. And then I transfer my drawing with chalk, and then I use Micron pens. These are archival ink. Oh, it says it right there. And this is the tip I used almost exclusively for the majority of the time I've made numberism drawings. So this is a 005, which is the smallest nib they have. I've since branched out a bit, especially when working larger. It's hard to ever complete the piece if you stay with that. This is, it doesn't look like much of a difference. Oh, it does. This is much larger pen to use. The 01, I don't use that very often, honestly. And then this is actually one of my favorites to use, the PN. It has this nice tip. I get kind of, it has a nice sassy character to it. Like when you complete like a circle, I really like I like the line that this makes. It's also really consistent. I do burn through these pretty fast when I'm working on a big piece, but I like this. And so all of these numbers were drawn with Micron pen. I prefer to draw with the black first, and then I go back in and scratch. This is an etching tool that I borrowed from a neighboring artist, Hannah Thies. She's in the building. She's a printmaker. I don't know if she realized when she let me borrow this how long my drawings take, because I've borrowed this for a couple months now. And this is my very professional little grippy thing I've thrown on here. I'll probably ask Elle to make me something better. This is just because holding the metal right here is brutal on your hand. So I just threw something on to ease that up. This is really nice, and I'm sorry that it cannot seem to focus. I'm using that on this piece. My usual scratchy devices just weren't cutting it. This is the ceramic blade I use. Normally, this is my favorite, and I use this for my scratch board. I do use it on my copper. The brand is Slice. But it was just not working with this piece. The texture and resistance of the material of the gouache was just too much for this. I'm guessing I did several coats of the gouache, so it was probably just a little bit too much paint to get through. Of course, otherwise I just use a regular standard X-Acto blade. You guys know what those look like. I'm not gonna pull that out. But, so I started using these. I like this a lot. I'm going to need to get my own and give this back. And now I'm gonna do some drawing. So I have my mid-tones with the blue. I have my darks, my shadows with the black. And then I go back in for the highlights with my scratchy device here. And we're gonna do this little caldera-y looking area here. So right now, what I'm drawing with is 3.52 cubic kilometers, which is the total volume of glacial snow that's on Mount Rainier. So people sometimes ask me if the placement of the numbers is significant, And generally speaking, if I can get away with it, yes, it is. So all of the data I have for this piece that is related to the glaciers and the snow are in white. And then anything else is in black. So I can change up which numbers I'm using here, just to give you an idea. So I'm drawing with, and maybe try drawing this yourself. So if you write 3.52, they're all these sort of round numbers that have big empty spaces in them. There's a nice big round right there, that 3. There's all this space here and here. And all that space that it's not scratching is providing, it means all that midtone behind it remains. It's still there, which with scratching means it's going to be not as bright. Whereas this here, I'm drawing with 1411, is that it? 14,411 feet. And that's because I wanted this texture. So let's try it this way. It creates something harder. It creates this nice edge. Like, let's drop it in here and we'll see the highlight that it creates. It's gonna be hard for you to see. I might pause this and find another area that I want this at to show you. Actually, I can put one here. Let's see. To tell you the truth, I love drawing with this sequence. It's really repetitive. It's really easy to fall into this sequence. I kind of want to do a drawing that's just these nice sharp numbers. It's just really pleasant. And you'll see that line versus, let's go ahead and just put right here next to it so you can see the difference. So you can probably see the difference in gradient that creates. This is a lot of the underlying midtone coming through, and it creates a sort of a softer gradient. So when I'm drawing this, I have a whole list of numbers and equations to pull from. And I do that for a few reasons. So one, I love the research and I get really into it, and I have a lot of data available to me. Two, I like to have my options open. So sometimes I want like a really long sequence to be able to just plop in there, like a long chemical formula here. Sometimes I need something really small, like if I just want to put something. Apologies, I ran out of storage space because that's how I roll. So if I want to pop in a little number here, instead of 14,411, I would pop in 3.52. It's a number that works here, that's relevant, and which fits the space. I also think of the texture it's going to create. So like these here, this is, looks like it's 5.57. So this is, I'd put numbers here that are closer together, that have less negative space. And for this area, I would use numbers that have more negative space because I want this big open gradient. I'd also make the numbers bigger and further apart here and smaller and closer together here. And that's basically how I make the gradient. And you'll see some of the resulting area, the resulting texture. So this here, I have the 14,411 feet right here. And it creates this nice sharp gradient. And then here I have 3.52. And so you can see the difference in the result. I'm gonna show you something else real quick. So I'm gonna pause this. We're going handheld now, so it's gonna get real crazy. This area here, this nice wet, smooth texture, I'm using a number that has lots of zeros. I'm using its age. Is it 50,000 or 500,000 years old? And you can see this texture is created from these nice repetitive, there's lots of zeros in there, that 5 with lots of negative space, the Y with lots of negative space, and it creates this nice wet, gentle texture. Versus we have up here, I'm using more 7s and 5s, things that are sharper, They have a little bit less negative space. And so the numbers I use are significant in both the scientific value, the relevance to the region it is drawn in, and the texture that it makes, the space that I have to place it, and just, the last part is how I feel. Some of these numbers I like more than others, so I do have a preference for certain numbers. And seeing as I'm out of space now, I'm going to end this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop your comments below if you'd like to know more, and thanks for watching.